there, thank you for joining me. I'm Tracy, and this is a DIY upcycling channel where we take pre-owned items, thrift store items, things out of your closet, hand-me-downs, whatever, and turn them into one-of-a-kind clothing, purses, and accessories. And today I want to make a pair of patchwork corduroy pants. And so I thrifted some pants. I'll show you these in a second. But I got these pre-owned corduroys off of eBay. I thrifted these. They are going to be parts, but I needed a pair that fit me. Now these are Cato brand. They're high-waisted and they have a flare at the bottom and some little pockets, and they fit me pretty good. And then I went to the thrift store and I was looking for more corduroys. I have one pair that is not corduroy, but I loved the color and it was rustic enough that I thought it would look cute with the corduroys. And I have a pair of dark brown corduroys and a pair of goldish color camo ones. And these are going to be patches. Let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I want to do so I can sew patches on very easily is cut the sides open like this. Now, if my corduroys didn't have an elastic waist, it'd be a little easier. I could just cut up the side, but I have to do something first since this is an elastic waist. So I don't know if you can see this very well. I made a stitch right here on this seam, and then I made a stitch at my machine, just a straight stitch, just past the elastic so that when I cut through that elastic, it doesn't go anywhere. I don't want to have to deal with my elastic coming all unraveled. So just two little precautionary lines here over the elastic. Otherwise, super simple. I just have a seam right here. I'm going slightly, let's see, I have a seam right here. I think I was out of the shot. Slightly over 1/4 of an inch to the back side of that seam, towards the back side of my pants. And I am just going to cut all the way up and through that elastic, now that that elastic is secure. And then when I get up to that elastic, I cut right between those two stitches that I made. Now it's time to get my 3 pair of pants and start cutting out patches. Okay. So I've never done this before, made a diagram, but my patches are going to be so large that I want to have sort of a clear-cut idea of what I'm doing. So I just drew out the patchwork. Here's the front, here's the back, and this is one big patch, and I've labeled it D for dark. The R is for red, even though it's more of a brick. I'm just calling it red. L is for the light color, and this will keep me organized when I'm cutting stuff out. Okay, so I know from my diagram, the front, I'm working on the front. I want a big, long, dark piece on the far side leg, on the outside there. And so I went to my dark corduroys, and I'm going to just cut a long rectangle. I'm not measuring anything. I kind of cut the basic shape that I want, and then I trim it up once I see it on the pant leg. Okay, so I turned my pants upside down so I can work on this side, and I laid out my dark brown corduroy, and now it's a little long, so I think I will cut this about there, save this for another patch, and I'm going to pin it on. I like using my old beat up cutting mat to slip between the layers to pin easier. A flattened out priority box slipped between the layers works well too. And I am just going to get that pinned on. Okay, so now that other scrap that I cut off, I'm going to put it right here, pin it on. I'm trying to do all one color so that I don't need to switch the thread out in my machine every time I go to a patch. I'm trying to get all the dark brown done so that I can leave the dark brown in my machine until I need to switch it. So I'm just pinning this one on. Okay, so now I have the brown done on the front. Now the hem, I put this small patch right at the hem line, and I kept the hem that was on the original pants, and I just lined it up with this hem so that I still have a finished edge right here. Now, I'll give you the measurements of these patches. I kind of wish we were live so that I can say, do you want the measurement of all these patches? And you could answer me, but just in case, this one is 19 inches tall and 4.5 wide. This one is 13 3/4 tall, 4 3/4 wide, and this one is 7.25 tall, 7 1/4 tall, and 4.5 wide. Now I'm going to turn it over on the back and do more dark patches. Okay, before I start the back, so my seam ripper broke. I was doing something, I can't remember what it was. I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing with it. I wasn't ripping seams, and I broke it, and I'm waiting for a new one to come. Otherwise, I would seam rip these pockets off. I don't want these pockets, but I am just going to cut them off just because I don't like to wait. But seam ripping probably would be a lot better, but it is what it is. Okay, so here's what the dark patches look like pinned on. This is the back, and on the back, this large patch is 18 by 6. This one is 9.5 by 7, and the one down at the bottom is 9 3/4 by 8. Now it's time to sew these on. So I'm going to use dark brown thread, a simple straight stitch, and I will stay close to the edges on every single patch and get them sewn on. Okay, now I've started this gold camel color corduroy. Now, I don't know if you can tell, these have a very deep corduroy, and I'm not a big fan of that because this is more about color blocking than all this texture. Plus, see, I turned this over. Here's the corduroy side. Plus, this side is lighter, and that shows up better on the color of my original cords. So, I am using the back side, and I started pinning and cutting. Now, I'll give you the sizes. This one is 18 by 3. This one is 10 by 7. And this one is 7 by 6.5. Now, I just need to pin this one on. And for this one, I'm going to, when I get this side pinned, I'm going to go to the other side and wrap it around and pin it like that. So, I'll get these pinned on, do the back, pin the back, and I'll show you the sizes of the patches that I use on the back. Okay, so on the back, I did a patch 9 by 7 and one 9 by 3.5. And this one, I just connected with that one from the front that I wrapped over. I just overlapped it a little bit. Now I'll go get all these light colored ones sewn on, and I'll use my gold colored thread and match the patch. Okay, so I have the red pinned on and ready to sew, which is actually kind of a brownish red. Now, these are not corduroys. But this is the color that I wanted when I was looking around at the thrift store. And I could not find corduroys in that color. And I do not let details like that stop me. I would never get anything done. I improvised and looked around to see what else in that color I liked. And it was this. So I am going to show you the back. Let me give you the dimensions. This patch is 7 by 6 1/4. This is 6 by 4, this red one here, and 8 by 6 1/4. Now I'll show you the back. Okay, so here's what the back looks like. There's one here that is 16.5 by 5 inches. This one is 9.5 by 4 3/4 inches, and this one is 8.5 by 4. And now I'm going to sew these on like I did the rest, and I will probably just use my brown thread. I don't think I have anything this color. Okay, all the patches are sewn on. How stinking hippie cute are those? All right, now it's time to sew the sides back together. Okay, I'm going to sew these right sides together. So I turned it inside out and put the right sides together, and it's just going to be super simple. I am going to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a straight stitch, and I will start at the top. I never start at the bottom, because if it's misaligned somewhere, you'd rather have it misaligned at the bottom and just trim it a little. You don't want it misaligned up at the waistband, and they do get misaligned. So I won't pin this or anything. I will just take it to my machine, stick it in there, forward back stitch, and just cruise all the way down the side till I get to the bottom. And once I've done that, I'll go back and do it again. I double stitch it for durability, and I will do that on both sides. Okay, all done sewing. Now what I want to do is, so the patches outside of that stitching will fray some, but I don't want excessive fraying. So I'm going to wash these. I'm going to turn them inside out, wash on a gentle or delicate cycle, and line dry them. And when they're all dry, I will turn them right side out again, and I will trim off any unattractive fraying, any excess fraying. So after I do all that, I'll come back and show you what they look like. Okay, here they are, all done. Now, this would be fun to do with jeans too, do a color blocking with jeans. And on jeans, I cut the sides open a little differently and sew them together a little differently. And I'll put a couple links in my description of a couple tutorials where I've done that. This jacket, I have a video on. I'll put the link in my description for that. I will bring it in a little closer, slow it down so you can see more of the details. Thank you so much for watching.